Namaskaram, yogis. Today I would like to guide you through a Yin Yoga practice. A Yin Yoga practice that's going to target the kidney chi, the kidney energy, the kidney prana. The kidney chi is the home of fear, but it's also of great wisdom. Being able to identify, investigate, and sit with fears can lead to great wisdom. So the sequence we're going to go through now is designed to balance this kidney energy, and this will be related to our lower back, our adrenal glands, and work into the joints of our body, especially our hips and probably, the spine, definitely the lower part of the spine. We will go through the whole body, but our target area is to get more energy into our kidneys. So sit comfortably, please. Sit nice and tall, and actually if you would like to lie down for the first few moments just to take ourselves into a nice place, then please feel free to recline into Shavasana. If we close our eyes, whether we're lying in Shavasana or in a comfortable seated position, making sure our shoulders are rolled back and down, the neck is neutral, and the whole body just takes a moment to relax. Breathe out completely, really empty your lungs. And can you breathe in through your nostrils for a count of 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Retain for 3 seconds. And now very smoothly and evenly out for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And take a little pause for 3. And repeat. In for 6. Pause, out for 6. And again a pause. Can we do that twice more? In for 6. Pausing for 3. And out for 6. Pause for 3 and then one more time. This is an emotionally balancing breath count. Throughout the rest of your Yin practice, there's no specific guidance to the breath. Just try and be as relaxed as you can and keep the breath nice and even. If you find your breath becoming ragged or holding your breath, perhaps you've gone a little bit too far into the pose and it's causing you to hold the breath. So just draw back a little. Okay, when you're ready, if you're lying down especially, give yourself a little stretch, maybe bend your knees and rock them side to side, and then come up to a seated position. Now I do have a blanket with me, so if you don't have a rolled up blanket, a rolled up towel, or even a spare yoga mat rolled up, can be very good to help to support your body in different places. So I like this first pose with the blanket just under my knees, like so. So soles of the feet together for butterfly. And the blanket just receives the legs a little bit, stops them going too far too soon, especially if you're already quite mobile in your hips. You want to just hold back a little bit, don't go too far. Now all the postures in Yin are timed, and I'd like to start off with a 3-minute forward bend in butterfly. So unlike the Hatha style of yoga, or most other styles, more of the Yang, we would draw our heels really close to us. In Yin, let them be quite far away, so that when you come forward, and if you can, just relax your hands, let your head drop, looking down at your feet, with your head above your feet. Now you can utilize other props, for example, a block, maybe on your heels, so that your head can go on the block. And coming into stillness, just being there. Try not to try is one of the best things to tell yourself about a Yin class. No trying to get anywhere, no real ambition to achieve anything, simply allowing the pose to get into your body, not taking your body into the pose. Allow it to do its work. Stretching our lumbar spine mainly here and opening the hips in a very gentle way. Relaxing forward. You can just take a mild bandha, a mula bandha up here. So the pelvic floor is lifting, and also the navel area is just slightly pressing back to bring in more space for your kidneys. And feel a slight roundness in your lower back, in the whole spine, and let yourself go more forward. It's okay if you're not very far forward. Here is fine. Just rest your elbows on your inner thighs maybe, or use the block. Or you can maybe start to go a little bit deeper now. You can spin your feet more open and your thumbs on the inside. And then without force, so yin is just very gentle, take it easy. Because we're there a while, it doesn't feel gentle after a while. You really begin to feel a sort of a deep ache in your joints. And as long as it's not painful, sharp, or like a real burning sensation, then everything is good. All is well. It's meant to ache a little bit. So perhaps your head can now be received into your feet. Again, no forcing. I'm not using a timer here. I tend to, with most of my students that might be watching this will know I guesstimate the time. So maybe another 30 seconds here is about right for our first 3 minutes. Usually we take our time, so we started off quite high, we allowed the body to go deeper, and you listen to your body. And if your body says, I'm happy to go a little deeper, then you allow that. So we don't pull and push, we allow 10 seconds. And then very gently, mindful of your spine, draw your tummy in, rise up, bring the soles of the feet onto the earth, take your props to the side and your hands behind you. And then just a little windscreen wiper here, side to side. Easing out the hips. Now, cross your ankles gently. Perhaps you could start with your right ankle in front and then we'll change it to the left just to keep the hips nicely balanced, because even crossing our ankles can just throw us off of our center a little bit. And we'll take a nice easy breath to the right side first, placing your right hand behind you. Your left hand across, and try not to pull, so maybe the back of the hand, and softly look to your right. Again, no forcing the body round. This is again just a little counter pose, so only about 30 seconds here. Awakening the spine a little bit more, feeling the whole spine moving. And then coming round to the other side and sweeping round. One hand on the floor, back of the right hand to the outer left leg. And coming back to the center. Now we're going into another forward bend, and it's sometimes called the half butterfly. Some of you might know it as Janushirshasana, but it's really not. It's a modified, it's a yin version of that. So this time I'm going to open my blanket a little bit nearer the back of my mat and just raise my hips a tiny bit. And especially if you get sciatica when you're going into a forward bend, it's quite good to just lift the hips a little high. A little bit, not too much. Okay, and then we extend out the legs, nice and easy. And we bend our left leg towards us, but only put the foot next to your right knee, so we're not bringing the heel right to the groin. And allow the left leg to drop open. Now, if you have a hip issue, a knee issue, and it just feels maybe that's pulling you over to the left, use a block or a cushion. Just grab a cushion from your sofa and pop it under the left leg to support it. Again, this is not about reaching too far forward. So there'll be sort of no contracting and stretching, simply allowing your body to move forward. So softly place the hands on the floor and then moving forward nice and easy. You can still draw back your tummy a little bit, but it's not so much about keeping your spine as straight as we do in Janushirshasana. So again, we're allowing a little bit of roundness in the spine to make space in the lumbar spine. Keep your bottom equally down on either side and soften and relax. Soften and relax. It is best to try and keep your foot as evenly facing you as possible, so you can still see all 5 toenails. And you're just allowing your shoulders to slide down and your torso to become heavy. And if the head feels heavy, you can place maybe 2 fists, make a stack of fists on your shin and place your head there. Otherwise, just keep your hands on the floor and your head up. Just feeling a gentle lengthening and stretching, releasing and dropping. The left hip is easily opening. We're just allowing it to open without even paying much regard to the left hip. Again, unless there's any pain that feels like something is really burning or feels sharp. If the knee feels sharp, then you could always just do a wide leg forward bend instead. A single leg moving down this midline between the left foot and the right foot, relaxing. Quite different from pulling ourselves forward. We need yang as well in our life, obviously, and should be a balance of yin and yang. So this yin practice is all about allowing and releasing, going with the flow really, just allow your body to go where it wants to go without ambition. Now the best way to change sides here, in a moment when we rise up, we'll bring the right foot to meet the left, so that when we extend the left, the legs are going to be working the same on each side in the hip opening part of the pose. So let's begin to gently rise, draw in your belly as you come up, protecting your lower back. And as you sit up tall, bend your right leg so the soles of the feet meet, and just sit there for a second or two, and then extend through the left. The sole of the right foot just against the inner left leg. Breathing in, drawing the tummy back gently, lifting the pelvic floor, making sure you can see your toenails, and then moving down this sort of midline between the right foot and left foot. Again, this right leg could be supported if it feels any discomfort in the hip. And sometimes it just relaxes more with a cushion or something to go on to there, so feel free to do what feels right. Think about where your kidneys are in your lower back, drawing the navel in very gently, feeling more space. Again, maybe allowing the head to be received onto the stack of fists. Surrender. Surrender all that's on your mind and just try to stay with the sensations that you're experiencing. So quite often in a yin class, a lot of my students really like me to do readings from any of either the yin books or any spiritual books, the yamas and niyamas we talk about. And this is really good, but sometimes we should actually be with the discomfort rather than be distracted from it. And that really makes us want to run away from the pose sometime. But it's like life, and especially right now, the world's going through a crisis and we can't run away from it. So face the discomfort, stay confident, have no fear, because this too will pass. So allow the sensations to be obvious to you. Name them. What is it you're feeling? An ache in your right hip perhaps? A stretch in the back of your left leg? If it's the back of your knee, you could always have a smaller towel just for padding under the knee if the ligaments and tendons in there are feeling strained. So really feel what it is your body is going through right now, and try not to go into the worries and fears that might be in the mind. Use your practice to be stronger, to face these fears. Remember, we're trying to gain an inner wisdom. There is nothing we can do right now in this time end of March where we are, 2020. We don't know how much longer we'll have to sit through this world crisis, but we have to find patience, and we should keep up our regular practice. Keep your yoga practice. Whatever else has changed, try and keep a regular yoga practice. Now very slowly again, drawing back on the navel to support your lower back, rise up. You can either keep the blanket under your hips or remove it now, and bend both knees. This time take the feet nice and wide. I'm going to come off of my blanket and take the legs side to side again, rocking them side to side. It's always a really nice counter pose. And then pushing up. Move the blanket out the way. Bring your hands firmly behind you. And traditionally, I would guess that the position would be fingertips facing your heels. That's what most yoga books and teachers would say. But if this is not suitable for your wrists or your elbows, some people like to go wider and point their hands out, or even the opposite way towards the back. So find what's comfortable for you. And if you don't want to lift up, you don't have to. But it's just to have a nice opening now for a few moments, rolling our shoulders gently back, moving the chest forward, raising the breastbone. And if you wish to try it, come up into a tabletop. We're lifting the hips and pressing the knees above the feet. Keep the neck neutral. Some students like to let the head fall back, but there's no need to. Just keep the chin towards the throat, nice and neutral. A few more seconds. And then come down. Little counter pose there. Your shoulders are shrug out. Okay, we're now going to take the spine into more of a dip, especially between the shoulder blades. Your lower back will probably hollow a little bit, so do ensure that you keep your tummy lifted. This is Anahatasana. Anahatasana is melting heart pose, and it's one of my favorites. Now it's quite strong in the shoulders, and to make it a little bit stronger still, just so that your shoulders really work away from the floor, we could put our hands on blocks. Let me show you it with the hands on blocks, and try it if you have blocks. And if you don't like it, if it's just a bit too intense around your shoulders, do it without. So I'm going to put my blocks quite near the front of my mat, like so, and that's where my hands will go. I'm going to take my knees nice and wide, and I'm up in my lounge doing this video rather than in my yoga studio, so it's nice and warm and cozy, and I have a carpet, so it's perfect for yin. So if you're on a harder floor, you might also want a blanket across the way to protect your knees. I like to sit for a moment on the heels, but I'll do that with you in a moment. Let me just show you the finishing pose. So the blocks are stretching forward. My hips are up above my knees, and you can see the lower back's going down, so I'm going to keep my tummy pulled in to protect it. And stretching into full extension. I can rest my forearms and then rest my chin and the chest on the floor. Anahatasana. So please, you can do it without the blocks. So, first of all, set yourself up, have your blocks there, and come to sitting on your heels. The knees are wide, so there's less pressure on the knees, I feel. When they're together, you might start to get achy. So when the knees are apart, we just stretch the ankles here. So it's really good for us to keep our feet nicely stretched. If you're getting cramp in your insteps here, we need to take more care of the feet and get them a bit more stretched. So it's good to sit like this. It's also good to massage your feet, especially in the insteps. Get in there with your knuckles. Okay, so from here we'll bring our hands forward, and we'll start to walk forward until our hands are under our shoulders, as if we're going to do cow-cat with wide knees. The hips go up a little bit. Try not to let them come forward of your knees or back, although if it does get too much, you could always go back to a wide leg or a narrow leg child pose. We'll be going there anyway. And for now, maybe try with the blocks. You can always put the blocks to the side if it's too much. And then pressing down, pull in your tummy, look down, and I'd like to go into the chin, but if that's no use for your neck, then tuck in your head. And stay here for 3 minutes. if it's too much on your shoulders, really think about lifting the armpits, pulling in your ribs. Does that help? And if you're still saying, no, it's too much, get rid of the blocks. And if you're not using blocks and it's still too much, then fold your arms as a pillow for your head. But still think of pressing your chest down. And gently drawing the tummy in. Smooth, even breathing. Don't hold your breath. Don't clench your jaw. You're probably saying, how did you know I was clenching my jaw? Because most people do. Melting heart. Feel the center of your chest melting down as you stay there just a little longer. Just a few more moments. Okay, 10 seconds. Now if you can, pull in your tummy strongly. Start to lift away from the floor. Walk your hands back until they're back under your shoulders. Don't worry if that was too difficult when you went down onto your tummy, that's absolutely fine. And then close the knees together if you can. However, you can keep them slightly apart. Press your bottom right to your hips. We want to rest the arms now, so a traditional child pose, hands down by the feet. Now if you're hovering, then the blocks you had for your hands, you could put your head on them. Because we really want you to get back and get nice and rounded. So a block or two might be necessary, like so. Or without the blocks. Tuck in so you're more on the top of your head. Spine's rounded, arms relaxed. Ten seconds. And then very gently rising up and come to sitting. It's nice to maybe use props for this one. It might be necessary just to make it more doable. So I'm going to keep my blanket handy. I've got my blocks handy too. And we're going to come into, which in other styles of yoga would be called Agni Stambhasana, or fire log pose, that means. And in Yin, simply called the square pose. So we're going to try and get our legs to become much narrower than they are when you've got your ankles crossed like this. And we also want to try and flex the ankles a bit more. So I would suggest that you start with your feet quite wide. And then we shall have our, let's go with the right leg as the underneath leg to begin with. So I'm going to take my left leg out of the way just to show you. And I know in the camera this might be flipped round. So I am using my real right leg. I say that because in class I usually mirror image. So I'm going to take my right knee forward so that the outside of the knee is level with the outside of the hip. And I'm moving the foot forward so that I've made half of a square. I'm drawing the toes of the foot and pulling them back, the forefoot back, and the heel pressing away to the end of the mat. And I might find that I can't get the knee right down. I might be up here because the hip is holding on. So one thing you can do is deliberately tip forward so your left buttock will be off the floor, and just sit like that for a moment. So the whole outside edge of your right leg is grounded, little toe edge. Try not to point your toes away. So like I say, draw the toes back towards you. And then as you move forward, you bring your left leg, and you want to put your left leg directly on top to make your square. So bring the left foot up in your hand. Place the knee just above the inner knee of the right leg, and then we try to drop down. Now you might get to here and be like, oh, that's too much, that's too much, that's too intense, or it might not feel very much, it just might not go, it's stuck there. So there's a few things we can do, but let me show you the full pose first. So you're coming into your square, as square as you can get, with the feet flexed, the heels pushed away, and the top knee on the bottom leg. And you can do the same with your arms, fold them one on top of the other. And if this is not tight for you, you can go ahead and go down into a forward bend, maybe elbows on the floor, and it should feel something, especially in the top leg, buttock and hip. However, if the leg's still, maybe let's say just a little bit high, fill the gap, pop something in there. That's better, that feels much better and supported. It's still too much. Take a block in front of the underneath leg and put the top leg foot on the block. So that's quite comfortable, but it might still be too tight for some of you practicing with me today. So without props, we just go back to a crossed ankle pose. So now we have the left leg in front, yeah? And you can still tip forward. Your hands can be to the side, so you might just be a little bit forward. But allow, again, a little rounding, pulling, drawing back the belly to make space in the kidneys and come forward. So whichever one you're in, try to lean forward, a lot or a little. Square pose. Now really sit with that discomfort. It's deliberately uncomfortable for probably about 90% of people. If you're very, very open in your hips, then you might not feel it very much. For the first time in a long time, I had a little run this morning. I went down to Aberdeen Beach, and I did have running shoes on, and I did a lot of walking, as many of my students that will be tuning in know. I did a lot of walking up to last October because I did the Great Wall of China Challenge. But before that, a few years before that, I used to run marathons and half marathons and 10Ks, and I've no ambition to go back to that. But I just felt I wanted to take a bit of a run. So I've tried it a few times lately and usually don't get very far, but I felt good today. So down at the beach, I broke into a little run. Well, I'd probably more call it a jog, and then ran up some of the steps, and then would walk to the next flight of steps and ran down them, ran again to the next flight, ran up them, walked to the next flight. So I did that all the way from the Bridge of Dawn end of Aberdeen Beach right to the Fitty end, and all the way back again. So it feels good. This doesn't feel so good, however. This feels that I know every single step that I took, but it'll feel so much better when I'm done with it. So can we rise up out of this side? Lean your hands behind, take your top leg forward. Oh, that feels good. Your underneath leg forward, and whatever feels right here, maybe just a little jiggling around of the legs. We don't want to wait too long, or the thought of doing it again will just take us out of it altogether. So straight away, back to the wide feet. Let's just get rid of the right leg for now and go half square with the left. So again, remember, if your knee won't go down, your thigh won't go down, rock forward onto it. And then hopefully the weight of the right leg will keep it down there. Remember all your options, so blanket between the knees, block in front of the left knee, anything that makes it more doable. Again, try not to point your toes away from you. Draw into good flexion at the ankle, keep it safe and strong. Take the right leg on top, see how it goes. It kind of maybe, hopefully, will be better on this side because it's already had a stretch, so you'll soon discover. Now, quite intense for me, right in the right hip and buttock now, while running up and down all those steps. So stretching it out, making the space. So our joints, if we don't use them to their fullest ability, capacity, like the hips and the shoulders should be able to move all the way around. But if we're constantly just sitting, we're walking, we're running, we're cycling, and we're using the same motion all the time, the hips lose their ability to do anything that's asking them to sit like this. So some of our day-to-day activities can become quite difficult. And especially when we want to start a yoga practice, we might find it very difficult. So it's really good for us to sit with the discomfort. It's also very good for us mentally as well. Take the discomfort that you have in your Yin Yoga class and how you've handled that into all circumstances that are hard to handle. Find the inner strength, find the confidence to move forward with your head held high. Leaning perhaps. You don't have to forward bend. It might be enough even to sit back from it. Maybe your stacked arms could be in front, your head down or your elbows. There's been many times in my life and in many of my students' lives where one of the first things that you might be tempted to let go of is your yoga practice, because maybe you're very stressed about something, maybe you've had an illness, an operation, and the yoga practice could start to drop off. But for me and many of my students, our practice has become stronger, our meditation, our physical practice. And what I often refer to yoga as is my life raft, or my box of tools. So think of your yoga not just what we're doing here on the mat, but if you open the box of yoga, we have the 8 limbs, yeah? So all the principles and the ethics that we should be trying to live by are in that box. All the postures that we know and continue to learn are in the box. All the different ways of controlling the energy through the different ways that we breathe are in that box. It's a big box. And then that helps us to start to think of the other branches, the pratyahara, to remove some of the senses that are trying to distract us, things that we listen to, things that we see. Don't watch too much news. Don't go into that place of fear. I'm not saying that we should hide our head in the sand, but there's a lot of stuff out there that we don't need to be listening to 24 hours a day or even an hour a day. Just know the facts, and facts, we don't know sometimes what the facts are and what are not true. But minimize your time with social media and news, etc. So withdraw your senses, pratyahara. And then that will help us to focus better, help us to concentrate and become more meditative. And then put all that together and take all of that into your box. And sometimes you just pull out the breathing, the way to help us to guide the energy through our body. So you think, I'm going to sit and do some pranayama. Maybe I'll sit in silence and even take your mala and do some chanting for meditation, or without a mala, mantra chanting. There's so many things in that box that we can use. Let's come out of this pose, depending on what we need, what mind and body need that day. So wriggle your legs out, give them that little shake, and see what we have coming back up now. Happy baby. We're going to lie on our back. If you've never done happy baby before, let me do a quick demonstration. As we lie down, first thing I do is take my knees in and just give them a hug, which feels good after the square pose. I take the knees towards my underarms, and then having the feet as much in line with the knees as I can, I bring them up above my knees. I might just hold on here on my ankles, I forgot what they were called, and hold up the ceiling with the feet, or I could hold on to the outside or the inside, and I'm pulling down. So join me in happy baby. It's a little bit like a squat upside down. Some people call this the dying bug, which is not something I want to visualize, So happy baby. Happy babies would probably rock around, so you can feel free to take a little rock, especially just to massage the back a little bit after the forward bend. And then try and come into stillness. Now you might not think of this as a yin pose, but try to think of 80% of it as yin. So the whole back body, and please the shoulders, drop them down. The legs are simply there. They're not actually doing much. Only part of this that's yang is your arms, and especially your hands as they grab a hold of your feet and they try to pull your feet down, well, your knees down, closer to your underarms or even closer to the floor. For me, I could get one knee to the floor, but the other one would be miles off. And sometimes I do go side to side doing that. I do have some students who get both knees on the floor, but please don't think that that's the aim. It's simply to stretch your back and hamstrings. So feel here the back of your thighs. Feel the spine and notice how much your bottom might be off the floor or if your head is trying to come off the floor. And try to keep the head and shoulders in particular relaxed. Feel the back muscles beginning to spread across the floor. Draw down on your tummy a little bit and see if you can bring the very base of your spine down. But don't worry if you can't. I think it's more important to try and keep the shoulders relaxed so you could always be here in your legs. Just another few moments. Of course, the other thing a happy baby would probably be doing now is having its big toe in its mouth, yes? Ananda Balasana. Bala, baby or child. Balasana is child's pose. This is Ananda Balasana, blissful baby. Very gently cross one ankle over the other. And then just hug the legs like that, just rocking around. If that's not comfortable, just separate them. And then as you bring your feet to the floor, roll over onto, well, your side that you can see me the easiest. I'll come onto my left side. And I'm just going to prop up a little bit. I'm going to stretch out my legs. And coming into one of my favourite poses called cat pulling its tail. I like to start propped up, so I'm drawing the ribs away from the floor. The legs are stacked, the left one is underneath, the right one on top obviously. So the left leg, the underneath leg, is going to bend behind. And just so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to lift the foot up, but the foot goes back to the floor. And I'm going to catch it with my right hand. And then I'm going to try, can you see how my thighs are together? I want to draw the underneath, the left one, back. So it's almost like a sideways bow pose. My chest is forward, my leg is back, and I'm holding my foot. I'm going to try and get the foot to the floor if possible. And then take the front leg, the right leg, knee to the floor. So you might be feeling a stretch down the outside of your top thigh and the front of your underneath thigh. Now, if this is enough for you, you want to stay here. You're saying to yourself, I hope this is not going any further. Well, it is, but it doesn't have to. So again, if you've never seen it before, maybe watch first. So I've got my front knee on the floor, my back foot and my hand on the floor. And then I could either come down lower, I could reach that arm out and lie on it, or I could reach it out in line with my shoulders, stretch it away, and then come onto the back of the head, looking up to the ceiling, drawing the underneath leg back. And finally, perhaps, I could either hold this knee deeper down and stretch my right shoulder to the floor, so the chest is stretching more, or I could take the foot and reach it up to my left hand for the full pose. One leg pulling back, one leg fully, top leg fully extended, and both shoulders searching for the floor. Cat pulling its tail. Whichever variation you want to do. So lie onto one side, stack the body, bring the underneath leg in your top hand and pull it back, and your top leg either bent at the knee to about hip height and holding it down, or outstretched, and try to catch it with your outstretched arm. Looking up to the ceiling, rolling back onto your shoulders. 30 more seconds. Of course, once you've done this routine with me the once, you could always do it again and pause the routine and stay for 5 minutes in each pose. This one may be a little less, unless you love it. For now, I'm going to bend this leg back in, stack the legs but bend the knees. And rather than turning my back to the camera, you can just roll over and I'll talk you through it. I'm going to go to the other end of my mat. So stacking the body on its other side, my right side. I'm holding myself up on my forearm and I'm taking the back leg foot into my top hand. And instead of the legs being stacked, I'm going to pull the leg back so the front thigh starts to stretch, chest open. I'm going to take the top leg in front and then either head and hand, lying the whole side of the body down, that might be enough, or lay the head on the arm, or take the arm in line with your shoulder and try to wiggle onto the back of your head and back shoulder. Maybe this knee will be nowhere near the floor, so you could use your outstretched hand to pull it down, and that's a good twist. And openness in the chest and movement in the legs, stretching the underneath leg, front thigh, and the top leg, hip and outer thigh. If you want a little bit more, you can catch the leg. You could use a strap here and reach the leg out. Cat pulling its tail. It's a bit tighter for me on this side. Dropping into the shoulders as much as possible. That's better. Oh. Try to relax. Getting rid of anxiety. Becoming wiser in our life decisions and choices, and not giving in to the fear that surrounds us. A few more moments. I know this is not 3 minutes. I'm just doing maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes in this pose. And again, you can always pause and stay longer. So for now, I'm going to start to bring my legs back onto a little tucked knee position, rolling over towards my knees, and then using my top hand to press slowly up. Mind that you're not dizzy. Well done with cat pulling its tail. Now, stretch out your legs. And again, maybe take a rolled up blanket or an extra yoga mat. If you don't have anything, you can use your own arms underneath your legs like so, with your heels on the floor. Or you can go a little bit deeper, so your knees are right down on but have something under them, just to take this away from being about the hamstrings so much and make it more about the spine. So caterpillar. You could, I guess, not have anything there, but the temptation will be, especially if you're used to more yang styles, to push your legs down. So try and keep them supported to take away that want of the ego more than anything else. And again, we don't want to be holding on anywhere. So rest your arms either on the support, hands on the floor, or even just out to the side a little bit. And think of this movement in the lumbar spine, coming over the pelvis and hips. Dropping maybe the tummy and chest towards the thighs without ambition, and try to relax. This is where we're going to finish our practice for now. When your body, or if your body starts to go deeper, keep your neck in line with the rest of the spine. So we're not having the chin way up, but neither are we letting the head fall heavy. So in line, crown and tail in line. Again, if you draw back your tummy muscles and lift your pelvic floor, you'll feel more spacious at the base of your spine, reaching out to the kidney area. And try to have the subtleness of awareness that the energy is moving through your body. The prana, the chi, through our nadis. If you think of your veins as the ocean and the blood is rushing through your veins, then the energy, the prana, the chi, it's going through the nadis, which one of the translations, my favorite translation, is little rivers. So the energy through the rivers, the blood through the ocean. Yin Yoga works very like acupuncture, acupressure, and many other traditional forms of medicine, I guess you would call it, medicine practices. What's the other word? Holistic practices. They all work very similarly. We're using each pose in a particular way that guides the prana to a particular area that we're focused on. And today, it's the kidneys. But it's more than just the organ. It's thinking about what happens when these organs are not working correctly for us. Why is that happening? Where's the energy blocked? And then the consequences of that blockage, the feeling of anxiety and tension in our body. And we can help that with the likes of acupuncture, with your Yin Yoga practice. Okay, slowly rising up. Do you remember we did a crossed ankle twist at the beginning? We'll cross the ankles again to finish. I think we had our right ankle in front the first time, so left ankle if you can remember, and then take a little twist to your left. That feels right. Oh, spine feels good. And the same 2 or 3 breaths to your right. As you come back, I would suggest that you now lie down into Shavasana to round off your practice. I'll leave you to lie back in Shavasana, and thank you very much for allowing me to guide you today. Namaste. Stay safe.